In Brazil, candidate Luis Inácio da Silva takes part in a mass rally in Sao Paulo following Sunday's televised debate. In Haiti, demonstrations continue in rejection of the foreign intervention promoted by Prime Minister Ariel Henry. And in Nigeria, authorities registered more than 600 deaths and about 1.3 million displaced as a result of flooding. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Brazil, candidate Luis Inácio da Silva held a mass rally in an outlying region of São Mateus after Sunday's televised debate in which Lula came out ahead of his opponent Jair Bolsonaro. A crowd took to the streets this Monday to receive the candidates of the Workers' Party, Lula da Silva and Geraldo Alckmin, joined by the candidate of the Workers' Party for the government of Sao Paulo, Fernando Haddad, and federal deputy-elect Guilherme Boulos. Former President Lula da Silva, together with his coalition, toured the city with calls to citizens to go to the polls on October 30th. This event takes place in the framework of his campaign for the runoff. In Uruguay, university professors strike against low salaries and demand higher budgets for the sector. The teachers of the University of the Republic of the Art called on their Twitter account for a new mobilization to demand the government to increase salaries. The union will concentrate in front of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security and then march to the Executive Tower, the headquarters of the Presidency of the Republic. This will be the continuation of mobilizations that began several weeks ago and included the occupation of several faculties of the House of High Studies. In Argentina, multiple social and trade union movements related to the Front of All commemorated with ceremonies and rallies the Day of Peronist Loyalty. The different sectors of Peronism that comprise the Front of All mobilized since early morning in the streets, urging Argentinians to look for solidarity, love for life, and dreams. During this day, members of more than 100 social and political groups arrived at the capital city's Plaza de Mayo to express their support to the government of the Front of All. The participants also condemned the assassination attempt against Vice President Cristina Fernandez. On Monday, Haitian social movements and opposition parties called for demonstrations to reject an eventual foreign intervention promoted by Prime Minister Ariel Henry. The mobilization was called in front of the U.S. Embassy to denounce the request of foreign troops in Haiti and to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry, whom they accused for high treason. On the other hand, Washington confirmed that U.S. and Canadian military planes arrived on Sunday in Port-au-Prince to deliver military equipment to the General Director of the Haitian Police to confront the armed gangs. These mobilizations are taking place amid the social and economic crisis that the nation is experiencing due to the increase in the price of fuel, the high cost of living, and the health crisis. During a speech at the United Nations, Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez addressed the economic, social, and political situation in Haiti. The Secretary General referred to the need to take urgent measures to unblock a port that occupied by criminal gangs, declared a situation and the need to reinforce the police with weapons and heavy military equipment.
Now, in relation to Haiti, we live in an absolutely dramatic situation. We have the harbor blocked by the gangs, not allowing fuel and other needed materials to move. We have, because of that, no fuel in the city. Having no fuel, there is no water. And we have an outbreak of cholera. And you know that the treatment for cholera, the most important hitter, is hydration. And there is no water available in the city. So it's an absolutely nightmarish situation for the population of Haiti, especially Port-au-Prince. That is the reason why twice I referred in informal meetings to the Security Council and then formally through report and letter that I presented, that I believe that we need not only to strengthen the police, strengthening it with training, with equipment, with a number of other measures, but that in the present circumstances, we need an armed action to release the port and to allow for a humanitarian corridor to be established. I'm talking of something to be done in support of the Haitian police, and I'm talking of something to be done based on strict humanitarian criteria, independent of the political dimensions of the problem that need to be solved by the Haitians themselves.
This Monday, Nicaragua's government sent a caravan of provisions and food to families in the South Caribbean affected by Hurricane Julia. With the support of the World Food Programme, authorities provided aid to the people following the passage of the weather phenomenon. It was also reported that operations to normalize basic services such as drinking water and cleaning of the affected areas continue. In this sense, brigades were mobilized for the restoration of telecommunications and electric services. Health authorities also undertake anti-epidemic campaigns to prevent illnesses. In Venezuela, the Vice President for Economy, Tarek El Aissami, toured the industrial zone of Las Tejerias in Aragua State that was hard hit by a landslide after the passage of Hurricane Julia. The Vice President of the Economy said that he is with the local authorities and other officials of the economy portfolio coordinating the intervention actions intended to reactivate the industrial activity there. El Aissami assured that with the support of the national government, 23 companies with serious and slight damages have been identified and progress is being made in their total recovery. He also informed that a work table was set up with all the entrepreneurs of the zone to assess the effects of the sector and provide them with the necessary support. The Nigerian government released a new report with updated figures on the devastation caused by floods. Authorities registered more than 600 deaths and 1.3 million displaced. The latest reports registered over 110,000 hectares of crops lost and more than 82,000 houses damaged. Authorities also informed that 2,000 people were injured. For her part, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Sadiyya Omar Farouk, pointed out that although the rains have arrived at the expected time, the floods surprised everyone in sub-Saharan Africa, which has been hard hit by climate change. Let's take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates and much more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the South. On Monday, the European Union approved the reinforcements of its military support to Ukraine, including a training mission on its territory for 15,000 Ukrainian soldiers and a contribution to that country of another 500 million euros for armaments. EU diplomacy chief Joseph Borrell made the announcement at the end of a meeting of European foreign ministers in Luxembourg. The launch of the training mission was the most anticipated outcome of the meeting. The idea is to use Poland as the main center of the mission that aims to provide basic training to some 12,000 soldiers and specialized training to some 2,800. Germany is to play a central role in this training mission. The president of Austria, Alexander van der Bellen, was re-elected in the first round with 56.7% of the votes. According to the Interior Ministry, the elections had a turnout of 65.2%. 78-year-old progressive and environmentalist achieved 3 percentage points more than in 2016 presidential election, when he defeated the candidate of the Austrian Freedom Party after a long electoral process, positioning him as a symbol in Europe of how to curb the advance of the populist right. Sweden's parliament backed Conservative Moderate Party leader Ulf Kristersson as Prime Minister on Monday. Kristersson was elected by a vote of 176 to 173 and will present his government on Tuesday. His three-party coalition does not have a majority, but Sweden allows prime ministers to govern as long as there is no parliamentary majority against them. Kristersson's center-right coalition government includes his party, the Liberals and the Christian Democrats, and a formal collaboration and power share with the Sweden Democrats and anti-immigration far-right party. Kristersson will be replacing Magdalena Andersson, who heads Sweden's largest party, the Social Democrats, which now are in opposition. He backed Sweden's historic bid to join NATO following Russia's special military operation in Ukraine. The Russian government confirmed that it will maintain its oil export levels and its role as a strategic supplier on the international market despite the imposition of new sanctions. During a meeting in the Russian Duma, Maxim Reshetnikov, Minister of Economic Development, stressed that without Russia it is impossible to balance world markets, recalling that Moscow accounts for 14% of world oil production and 11% of world exports. Therefore, Reshetnikov assured that in spite of the continuous imposition of sanctions, a shift of exports to the eastern markets is already underway. Among the latest sanctions imposed on Russia by the European Union is the commitment to impose a global limit on the price of Russian oil and its derivatives, so that shipping companies will only be able to transport it from Russia to third countries if it is sold at or below the established price. Russia resumed on Monday a number of strikes against military targets in several Ukrainian provinces while dismantling terrorist operations on the territory. Moscow used high-precision missiles to strike the command centers of the general staff, communication infrastructures, and energy facilities in Ukraine. These measures were implemented in response to the Ukrainian terrorist attacks in the country. Russian authorities warned Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that if terrorist attacks take place in Moscow, their response will be swift. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian government issued an air alert in the southern and central parts of the country for the 8th consecutive day. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the South. UN General Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez on Monday called for an immediate end to violence in Ethiopia's Tigray region, saying the country is being torn apart by war. Gutierrez's comments came as the Ethiopian government threatened this Monday to seize control of airports and other locations in Tigray, ignoring the African Union's call for an immediate and unconditional truce. The nearly two-year conflict has triggered a massive humanitarian crisis in Tigray and other areas of northern Ethiopia, with at least 2 million people driven from their homes and millions more in need of aid. Gutierrez added that even before fighting resumed, 13 million people lacked adequate food in Tigray, Amhara, and Afar regions.
No military solution. Civilians are paying a horrific price. Indiscriminate attacks, including in residential areas, are killing more innocent people every day, damaging critical infrastructure and limiting access to vital services. And we are also hearing disturbing accounts of sexual violence and other acts of brutality against women, children, and men. All parties must adhere to their obligations under international humanitarian law. The United Nations is ready to support the African Union in every possible way to end this nightmare for the Ethiopian people. We need the urgent resumption of talks towards an effective, lasting political settlement.
Australia no longer recognizes West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, reversing the policy adopted by former Prime Minister Scott Morrison's government. In recent days, Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade removed references to its recognition of West Jerusalem as the Israeli capital from its website, a denomination assumed after the U.S. Embassy was moved from Tel Aviv to the historical city in 2018 during Donald Trump's administration. On the other hand, the current Australian government, headed by Anthony Albanese, said in 2018 that it does not support unilateral recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and government would reverse this decision. Israel claims Jerusalem as its capital, neglecting the Palestinian claim over the city and its historical, religious, and cultural links to Palestinian people. Iraq's newly elected President Abdul Latif Rashid pledged on Monday as he took office to throw his weight behind efforts to rapidly form a strong new government. President Rashid vowed to work towards solid and balanced relations with neighboring countries and the international community. He also named Mohammed Shia al-Sudani as Prime Minister designate. Sudani's task now is to form a new government that would end a year of political gridlock in the nation since general elections were held in October 2021. Under the Iraqi constitution, the prime minister designate has 30 days to form a government, a deadline that has often been missed. The stakes are high for the next cabinet, with a colossal $87 billion in revenues from oil exports held up in the central bank's coffers. The money can help rebuild infrastructure, but it can only be spent after lawmakers approve a state budget presented by the new government.
The beloved Iraqi people expect a new government, and we hope that it will be formed rapidly and that it be strong, efficient, and united. I will do everything I can to bring political forces closer and sponsor a dialogue to achieve this goal, and to do my duties faithfully to protect the Constitution, the sovereignty, the unity, and the independence of Iraq.
In Iran, the number of deaths increased to 8 due to the fire that broke out on Sunday in the evening prison after a confrontation between inmates and guards. According to local media, the incident also registered around 61 wounded, of which 10 were hospitalized and 51 received outpatient treatment. According to official reports, the incident, which took place in the ward for inmates convicted of financial crimes, started after an inmate set fire to a clothing store in the middle of a confrontation. Authorities indicate that in the midst of the riot, some inmates tried to escape but were unable to do so due to the security measures adopted. We have come to the end of this news program. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.